just... I've done enough speaking in my job that it's always good to have your notes by your side, especially when you work as an economist and you generally bore the shit out of everybody. You start boring yourself and you forget what you want to say. So, with that, thanks for that, Dave. I thought tonight I would take an opportunity to talk about a special tree in my collection. And I call it a special tree because it's not something that you'll commonly see in bonsai. In fact, even if you trawl the net, you'll be lucky to find more than 2 or 3 pictures of this tree as bonsai. And I chose to talk about this tree, hoping to inspire our members, and particularly newer members of the club, starting out, to think differently from the start about trees and not be afraid of trying something different, and show them that they can create, I guess, reasonably good bonsai from non-standard stock. And I'd urge particularly new members to start out with an open mind very early in their bonsai journey. So, what do we have here? Well, this is a lemon verbena, common or scientifically known as an Aloesia citrodora, and it's a woody shrub that's native to South America that produces small white flowers in the summertime that are pretty long lasting. It's probably most well known for its really fragrant lemon-scented leaves, and I'll just pass these around just to give you an idea of how fragrant these things are. It's like, when this thing's in full bloom, it's like walking past jasmine on steroids. So it really is. So just pass it around. The leaves are also used commonly in making herbal teas, in pot puree, and also for cooking and in drinks. And for those drinkers amongst us, probably not well known fact is the secret distillery garden lemon gin verbena has been awarded a gold medal at the prestigious San Francisco International Spirits Competition. It's that good. Now in Australia, you'll often find lemon verbena growing in pots and in herb gardens, and it's very rare that you'll come across a lemon verbena this sort of size. I haven't seen too many, and those that I have seen, typically in gardens, sort of, I reckon in houses in the sort of 60s and 70s, that sort of era. They seem to have been popular back then. So, how did I come across this one? Well, this was growing along a fence line, the backyard of our holiday home on the Mornington Peninsula in Rye, and it had been there for as long as I could remember. In fact, my kids called this tree growing up third slip, because if you hit the ball behind it when we were playing backyard cricket, you were out. Now, about 8 or 9 years ago, my sister moved down there permanently, and she wanted to pull down the fence to make a new one, and she asked me if I could come along and give her a hand, which, being a good brother, I said, of course I will. Now, at about that time, I'd also just joined Bonsai Northwest, and when I went down there and saw this thing, I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a crack at trying to turn this thing into a bonsai tree. Now, the problem was, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know if it was the right time to pull it out of the garden. I didn't know how far to cut it down, and basically had no idea what to do, but I thought, I'll cut it down to roughly this size anyway, put it in a box, put in some soil, take it home and see what happens. And to my surprise, it actually grew. And I was really surprised it actually survived, to be honest. But here, I was at a loss. It was really ugly. It was half rotten, and I was almost embarrassed. In fact, I was embarrassed to bring it along to a workshop night, but I'm glad I did. Now, the first person to come over and have a look at this was Han. And I asked Han, what do you think I should do with this? Well, Han looked at me, he looked at the tree, and he looked at me again, and he said, as only Han can, put it on the barbecue. And to be honest, to this day, I'm still not sure if he was joking or not. But to his credit, Han persevered, and he picked out a couple of branches and he helped me wire them up into where he thought they should be. And he said, take it home and let it grow. But of course, I was impatient. I'm a newbie, I'm in a hurry. So not long after that, an opportunity came up through the club. We had a visiting tutor coming for doing some weekend workshops. Now, I can't remember who he was, but I brought this along thinking, what to do next. Now, it didn't have much growing on it at that time, so he suggested perhaps you should start looking at trying to remove some of the deadwood. This thing was half rotten when I pulled it out of the ground. And so he sketched out some areas and said, possibly try working in these areas and try and create something. Thankfully, Ted was on hand and he took me out the back and he set me up with the club power carver and off I went. And I started creating hollows and furrows and all sorts of fancy looking things, I thought. And at one point I looked at it and I thought, hey, hang on, this is actually starting to look like a tree, like a really old tree that's been really distressed, had a hard life, but is still hanging on. And I thought, that's pretty cool. And to this day, when I look at bonsai trees, trees that are really well carved are still amongst my favourite types of trees. Now, since then, the development of this tree has basically been trying to encourage ramification. I'm trying to create a nice canopy over the top. I've been using wire, because it's so brittle, I'm using wire guide wires to sort of position the branches. You might be able to see some here and here. When I got this thing, it was basically growing at 180 degrees up, down and sideways. And over the years, I've just pulled it in closer and closer to try and tidy it up a bit. And just further refining the deadwood when I think it needs to, just a touch here and there. Now, getting to this point with this tree hasn't been without its challenges, and the biggest challenges are that the new growth is really, really soft, and the established wood is really, really brittle, so it makes it really hard to wire. I've had major branches die, which you can see on the back, here, and I also get, and I don't know why, I do get parts of branches that tend to die back every year. So I've had some here, and I can already see this year that I'm going to get some more within this one, within that one, and within that one. Now, I've chosen to use this dieback as a feature of the tree by creating some shari in the deadwood, and I think that really adds some character to it. And I think it looks a lot better for it. Now, growing conditions for this tree. So lemon verbena basically thrives in warm, sunny positions, but it does also tolerate shady positions. I've got mine growing mostly in the shady area in my garden because I really don't have anywhere where I can put it where it gets a lot of sun during the day. It also seems to be pretty pest hardy, but then again, I also get a lot of spiders taking up residence in the hollows during the growing season, which probably accounts for why the insect population is quite low. And the only real pest I've encountered is catching my wife every now and again pilfering leaves to put in her gin and tonics in the summertime.
It's on camera, you know that, Rob? Just recorded you.
Can you please send her the link? Now, the aim with this tree is to continue developing a dense canopy with lots of deadwood and shari features in it, and of course to keep it alive. Now, I know trees like this aren't to everybody's taste, but I'd urge you all, and particularly our newer members, to consider having a crack at something different if the opportunity arises. You might be surprised at what you can create. Now, I started this project as a newbie, not knowing much about bonsai at all, but with the help of fellow members and some experimentation of my own, I've learnt a lot about this tree. Now, a few years ago, I posted this tree, a picture of this tree, on the US Bonsai Nut website forum. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, it seems pretty big. I was just looking for some information from anybody who might have a similar tree, or anyone that ever tried doing this, making a bonsai out of a lemon verbena. And I got some really good feedback from them. But my favourite was from a member in the Canary Islands in Spain who said, and I quote, "Wow, really nice tree and probably the best example in the world of this species in bonsai." Now, I don't know if I'll believe that, really believe it, I'll take it. But it did make me feel pretty happy and validated that I'd taken a chance with this and persisted with it. Now, if I had one regret about the lemon verbena tree, and that was that there was an equally as big one of these growing in Mum's front garden that I forgot to pull out of the ground before she passed away, and we sold the family home. Now, thanks for indulging me. If anybody's got any questions, fire away.
Can you give it any more sun than it's getting? Because they want to be in full sun.
Yeah.
That's why I think they're losing branches.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, Quentin. I just don't have the spot on east west. Unfortunately, I could bring it round to your place.
Yes. Bring it on your place. You can say it again.
You can bring it to the next level for me. That's great. I've been trying to figure out a place, Quentin, but I just don't. I don't have a garden that's set up for gardening, to be honest. It's all entertainment area.
I only have seen one other here in Victoria. It was an old one, nowhere near as big as that. And it grew really well in the full sun.
Yeah.
As a bonsai.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it didn't have, last week when I came here, I got my dates mixed up, I was ready to show you this thing. It didn't have much on it at all, so I actually put it in the sunshine this week, hoping to get some growth, and I did get a hell of a lot of growth just in a week, so yeah. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Glenn.
Rob, silly question, did you hollow out that bottom bit?
This was basically a flat stump. So when I took to it with the power carver, it just started falling off. I mean, I wasn't really doing much. It was actually the deadwood just falling off that just made it look like this. But the only thing I did enhance was working on this hollow in here and just opening this up a bit more, because this was just, you could literally just break that off with your fingers. It was that brittle. Which I might throw a question to anyone else who's experienced some really severe deadwood, particularly Quentin. Is it worthwhile putting some wood hardener on the inside of this in Quentin? Because I don't think...
I think I would.
Yeah, okay. And what would you use?
Well, one that's commonly used is wood hardener.
Yeah.
I've been using a product called Q-Tech, C-U-T-K,
Yep.
and the clear variety.
Yep.
And that doesn't turn it stark white, and also doesn't have a shiny finish.
Okay.
It sort of keeps the natural colour, but doesn't preserve it.
Yeah.
So Q-Tech is what I would use, but Earl's wood hardener would be good too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of just doing the inside and hopefully keeping
I
that
do
from
wherever you can reach.
Yeah.
Wherever you can reach.
Thanks, Quentin. And thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, Rob.
As David has premised, my name's Paul Rigby. For those that haven't joined the Dots, I'm the newsletter editor. Whilst I'm on that, if anybody has anything that they'd like to put in the newsletter, please send it to me. My email address is on every newsletter. If there's something you want out of the newsletter, please let me know, and I will attempt to accommodate it. One of the hardest things about this job, and I'm sure David will back it up, is finding content every month for the newsletter. So please help me out. Okay, I'm retired. In my working life, I was a cartographer. So if anybody knows or has used a Melway, you've looked at an awful lot of my handiwork. I was employed by Melway for a number of years after I was retrenched from the state government in what used to be the Crown Lands and Survey Department, where I learnt my trade. And then I was picked up by Melway, who are regarded as the best cartographic enterprise in Australia. They're now, if not defunct, they're almost defunct. Mr. Google has killed them off. So everybody uses Google on their mobile phone, and no one wants to buy printed books, because printed books are very expensive. So, the end of the Melway. It was a tradition, but now it's gone. So, my bonsai journey started probably 50 years ago. Before I was even married, I joined the Bonsai Society of Victoria, which met at the time at the St John's Church Hall in Toorak. Some of you may remember that. If there's anyone as old as me, Quentin, you must remember that.
Not as old as 50 years ago, but I do remember the
St John's, yeah. So I went there, and I left that club after a couple of years because they were very cliquey. No one would talk to anybody. So as a newbie, when I went in there, I'd just go in there and I wouldn't say a word for the whole night and just go home again. I had a couple of twigs in pots, which I was pretty impressed with, but when you see things like this and those, you think, oh God, hopeless. So that was the end of that. And then after that, married, children, mortgage, the usual story that everyone can relate to, I'm sure. And then I had a renaissance about 10, 12, maybe 15 years ago. And both my late mother and I used to come to all the meetings when we met down at the Yarraville Club. So Mum and I used to go down there and have a nice meal and then enjoy the meeting and the presentations, and drag my daughter and son-in-law along one day to an auction, and my son-in-law went bloody crazy and bought about 10 trees and said, "You can look after these for me, can't you?" I guess so. So that was okay, but Mum passed away, and then I've stayed on with the club, hung around, and now I'm the newsletter editor. So, this is a plum tree. It was absolutely magnificent. I should have brought it to the last meeting when there was no leaves on it, and it was in full flower. It was covered in flowers. It looked fabulous. I don't know why I didn't bring it, forgot, whatever, but it looked fabulous. So now a lot of the fruit has become little plums that you may be able to see. And I bought this tree from Dave at Moongate many years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, and it's just got a really nice shape. Now, it might not be a classical bonsai, but it's a tree that I like, and I think that's it. I've learned one thing about bonsai: it's about making trees that you like. And not getting bogged down with rules and regulations, left, right, back, all that stuff. Trees don't often cooperate with those sorts of rules, and so I think it's all in the eye of the beholder. If you like it, it's terrific. It may not win a show, but if you like it, that's all that matters. And I like this tree. Possibly not the best tree I've got, but I like this tree. So it's possibly my favourite at this time. So in harking back to what David said about getting to know other members of the club, I thought to myself, what would I like to see at a meeting like this? And I thought, I'd like to see a video of Quentin's collection. So I made a video of my collection, because I didn't think Quentin would acquiesce to that, and it's probably not relevant when I'm speaking anyway. So, Dave, can you... We on?
It's started.
Talk to it. So this is my collection. Got some maples there, a little Asakura azalea that I trimmed very harshly. A couple of nice maples, good Nabari on that one, Japanese maple. Another azalea, and then a maple, trident maple fruit planting, ficus. That's macrophylla. So I leaf prune it every year, and the leaves are much smaller than what they should be. Spruce, that's probably the oldest tree I've got, and it's had a very tortured life. Japanese elm. Quentin may recall that tree that I brought to a workshop and we worked on. So it's still alive, haven't killed it. Then another ficus. And there's a desert ash, all that leafy stuff there's a desert ash on the lower leaf. It's a sacrifice branch that I'm letting go. That's another little plum there, and that's this tree here that I brought tonight. This is one of the auxiliary shelves, another ficus. Where's Barry? Barry, that's the azalea. And another olive. Got a few olives. That's Sayatomi azalea. Another olive. Dave will recognise that tree. That's a Shimpaku that Dave styled for me. Another olive. That's the large leaf variety of olive. And then a pyracantha, which featured in one of the newsletter articles where I had savage root rot, and I treated it with hydrogen peroxide, and it's growing very well. Some little marmays I've got going there. A couple of accent plants. Don't know what they are, but have a pretty blue flower. Now we're going around to the auxiliary shelf.
You get more and more, don't you?
That's one of my other hobbies. I make bonsai stands. Can't help myself. If I've got a spare time and some wood laying around, I make a stand. So much to my wife's chagrin, because then I've got to store them somewhere. So they're all over the house, those and the wooden boxes I made as well. All those are plum trees that I dug out of my back garden, out of the lawn. They were root cuttings or roots that just sprung up out of the ground. So when they lost their leaves, I dug them all out. As you can see, they're growing terrifically. This is my shimpaku patch. The shimpaku just gone there that had an air layer I did a couple of weeks ago. All sorts of various shimpakus from cuttings and air layers that are twisted and mangled. That's black pine, that's got some nice shape, which I like. Zelkova group planting. Deodar cedar there that's got some nice shape and growing well. It's a multi-trunk trident. Another black pine, probably in a completely wrong pot. It's round and brown, but I like it. Another trident maple there. They're all growing quite nicely. They seem to be unkillable. Blue cedar, and another trident group planting. As you can see, I've got a bit of a thing for group plantings. I think they look good if they're done well. Now going down past my succulent collection, like growing things, down to my auxiliary training section. So that there and there, that's just an area to grow. There's the ficus there, Atlas cedar. That tall thing there is a pomegranate cutting that I took off, air layer, I took off my pomegranate tree, and there's another one there. You'll also see some red gum eucalyptus growing there, which I raised from seed. Believe it or not, they're remarkably easy to grow from seed if anyone wants to try. And there's more Zelkovas there. I think that's just about it. So, as I said, the red gums grow really easily from seed, and they proliferate, but they do like to send down nice big fat taproots. So where I had my pot sitting, when I went to move one, didn't come. It was about a 2 foot long taproot and gone straight down. Not much else, but just this taproot. So I cut that off and thought, well, that's the end of them. I've got about 10, I suppose. But it didn't die, they flourish on, they've dried out. There's one that I thought I'd killed, I saw on it today, it's got all sorts of new growth. So just be careful when you throw things out that you think are dead. Okay, that's probably enough for me. Any questions, anybody?
Do you find that fruit stays on the tree there?
No, it gets to about that big and then they seem to fall off. Or my perennial problem, the birds get them. Birds eat all the berries on my pyrocanthus, have a nice show of berries and come out the next day, gone.
Yep.
So, no, they only get to about that big. They're a yellow plum, but the tree's obviously not big enough to support full-size fruit, I wouldn't have thought, but no. So, no, it hasn't. Short answer.
Very cool. Very cool, Paul.
No more questions? Yep.
I prune my fruit trees and I put the cuttings in the water straight away. Now the leaves are growing out from them. They're still in the water. I'm going to cut them.
Is there any roots coming out of it?
No, I don't know.
Well, why wouldn't you do anything with it until you get some roots?
Okay, so not even put them in the soil.
No. Well, if you put in the soil, there's no roots to get any moisture or anything, so I wouldn't move until it had roots.
Okay.
Quinn?
Yeah, now you put them in water, I'd probably leave them there, but I would put them in soil at the start, I think.
Yeah, rooting hormone in the soil.
They can stay.
I would leave them stay. If they grow roots, well and good. If they don't, throw them out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Good evening. Yes, I'm Rebecca. One of the rules of public speaking is that you don't start out with an apology. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. I was never going to have anything quite as dramatic as a video. I was probably going to have a better selection of trees, but I wandered outside yesterday afternoon at about 2 o'clock thinking I'm going to talk to my trees and I'm going to see what they want to tell me. I'll water them, I'll feed them, I'll do all of those sorts of things. Step 2 steps outside the tree. My husband follows me out on the phone going, "Can you see anything over the fence?" There was a bushfire. So instead of actually going and looking at my trees, I went and put out a bushfire. Oh, good on you. This afternoon, I'd had a sleep, I'd done the meeting we had this morning. I thought, I'll go out and have a look at my trees and I'll talk to my trees and I'll it rained, so they didn't need watering, but they still needed feeding. And I'm walking past my bedroom and I hear my pager go off. I run back inside and I say, "Is that us?" He said, "Yes, it's a car accident." So I went down and rescued a bloke out of his car accident, so I'm not quite as prepared as I was going to be. So there you go, that's not apology, but a story. I was first interested in bonsai as a kid, but as a kid you cut sticks off and you plant them in the ground and you go, "It's a bonsai!" And then a week later, it's dead. Then when I was in my early to mid-20s, I started a few trees, but at the same time I was building a house and I had a small child, and you're either allowed to keep the trees alive or the children alive. 26-year-old is still alive. It is a very tough choice. I chose the child, he is still alive, and I finally got back to the trees again after about 5 years. So what I thought I would talk about today isn't so much the trees, because they're really not very dramatic at all, is one of the things that I do is, as well as being a firefighter, I'm a Joey Scout leader. Joey Scouts are 5 to 8 year olds, and they're insane and delightful, and I want to spark passion in them about things that I'm interested in. It could be anything, and you just feed them little ideas. And so one of the little ideas that I've been feeding my Joey Scouts for the last 3 or 4 years is bonsai. So I send them home, they get a little bonsai, and it is such a bonsai, isn't it? So what we do, who is it who brings the seeds every year? From
Peter.
Peter, thank you,
Please,
Peter.
Peter.
I grow them every year, and I have quite a collection. And so for the last 3 years, I'm using 2 to 3 year old seedlings, and I take them to the Joey Scouts. They've all had a couple of years of root pruning, and they get these little sticks they get to pull out of the ground, and they get sent home with something like this. Of the 30 trees that we've done over the 3 years, I know of 2 that are still alive, that aren't mine, and those 2 are kept inside. And they've got internode lengths like this, and they're never going to be bonsai. But they're still alive, and that's a start. So essentially what I've been doing, that's sort of these trees' story, is for the Joey Scouts. But much as Rob was saying, and Paul as well, as beginners you go there and there's these beautiful big trees and you sit there and go, "I can't afford it, I'm terrified of killing it. I think I'll start with a seedling." Where does the seedling start? Well, you stick it in the ground and you hope it grows. And then a couple of years later, I think this one says Salty. Yes, this one is my son's. His Joey name is Salty because it's a saltwater crocodile. He's a venture helper. My Joey name, if you're interested, is Boo Book. It's the smallest owl in the Macedon Ranges. Grumpy Boo Book is something that the Joey Scouts need to be scared of. So this is probably a 4-year-old seedling, had been root pruned twice. I root pruned them every year and been a bit top pruned. It didn't grow very much last year because last year was a rubbish growing year for me. And then this one says Eleanor with Japanese script on it, but you can't read that anymore. So that'd be 3 years old. So essentially, if someone had, another tree that we're going to see later is a few years older again. It's not a trident maple. They just grow, and you just have to get out of their way. I can't remember what this one is. I thought that one was for possum, but that's probably another 3-year-old tree. And then I found a rock. And so I stuck it on a rock. That was just this year's gone up. So essentially what my message is for the newbies out there, and indeed for those of you who have been doing it forever and start with these beautiful big trees, have a go with a seedling because they're fun. And if you get that handful of seeds that Peter brings every year, sow them, you end up with hundreds of trees and you've got to do something with them, and if they die, well then there's no real loss. So yeah, you've just got to keep water to them and hope that you don't have too bad of a fire season when you spend half of your life out fighting bushfires and going, "Can someone water my trees for me, please?" But yeah, short and sweet. Start out with seeds and you never know where you'll end up.
Any questions for Rebecca?
Yes, dear.
Excuse my ignorance, but you said you root prune those every year?
I do.
So,
I cut off more than they ever knew they were going to have because I don't care if they die because I have hundreds of them. The idea is that they're starting to get there. They're looking a little bit more interesting over the years, but I'm hoping to get a nice radial root system without too many big thick ones going straight down. And I'm just mean to them, because if I don't like it, I'll cut it off, because it's a trident, it's going to grow again.
Rebecca, you know what's wrong with your speech tonight? You didn't show enough enthusiasm.
Sorry, Grumpy Boogle was coming out. No, that's because I was fighting bushfire yesterday and I rescued a bloke today.
All the emotions gone off.
We love you, Rebecca. Well done.
We do.
The easy thing about this process, well, it doesn't
run into it.
look, what can I say? Enthusiasm, yeah. We'll try with that one, shall we? I got this around 6 years ago, roughly, from my mum. Believe it or not, mum come around, she says, "You can look after this for me as long as you don't put it into a bonsai." That lasted 6 months. So I bent it, and I don't know if you can see that yet or not.
You want to play it? Yeah.
Oh, any of them. Yeah, I bent it and did every blooming thing to it. This is just, obviously after it's flowered. That was about a week or two ago. God, the smell, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Everyone asks the same question though, how do you get it to flower? Mine doesn't flower. You know what the easiest thing to do is? And I'll tell you what I do every single year. All I do is charcoal. Charcoal in the bottom. Not potash, forget it, charcoal. Charcoal in the bottom, then you put your bonsai soil and all that stuff on top of it. Then you put your tree inside. Do what you got to do. Exactly the same, just put charcoal in the bottom. That and these drink, you would not, oh, mate, they drink. I've got this all the time in that. Obviously, I don't know if there's any other, oh no, it's just this one. Back there was just when it first started. There are a couple other pics in there somewhere, Dave, of about when it was a bit smaller. Maybe, no? No, she didn't put them in there.
No, probably, hang on. Oh, no, maybe not.
No, they're not there, she just did the, oh, never mind. There was one in, yeah, I've only just put this into this pot this year, because he was too small for the other pot that I had, so I chucked it in a bigger pot. Yes, it's still training, yes, I've still got bits of timber and whatnot in there, stretching it out, this, that and the other, but yeah, for me, I don't know what it is, it's just, yeah, the wisteria, I love the smell. Why do I have it? Because I love the smell. And they got pretty colours, and they got pretty flowers, and blah, blah, blah. So I went and thought, you know what, after getting this one, lovely purple one, I got a deeper purple, and a blue, and a pink, and a white. So yeah, you know, why not have all the colours of the rainbow, blah, blah, blah. But that's pretty much about me, and this dude. It's a nice thick trunk. I can't just, I haven't got big hands, but I still can't touch them. Still can't wrap my hand around it. At the base at least. Then it just goes off into, I don't know, like an octopus. So yeah, that's about it for me. Yeah, the smell of this. How old? As I said, I've probably had it for about six years, roughly 6-7 years. It's tiny. Be lucky to probably that branch there would have been maybe about that thick. It's only tiny, as thick as your finger. Tiny little thing. Yeah, then it just grew. And I bent it, and as I said, Mum said, yes, Jed.
Did it flower the first year you had it?
Hell no.
No.
Why? Because I didn't know what I was doing.
I believe wisterias don't flower for 7 years.
Well, that's funny because after I had it for about 3,
Okay.
They flower.
and I've just, as I said, I've put charcoal, ever since I put it in a pot, a bonsai pot, and every single one of my others have flowered as well. So,
Charcoal.
as I said, I use charcoal, and I've never looked back.
Was it in the ground originally?
No,
Oh,
it was
wasn't.
always in a pot.
Okay.
And yeah, I just kept slicing the bottom. Unfortunately, you can't, because of all the lovely moss that I put there, you can't see how big the bottom really is, but it's probably about double the width of the trunk itself. So that's an awesome little tree, and that's pretty much me done.
So I think
Thanks very much. Thank you.
you have it in the water tray all year round?
All year round.
Okay.
All year round. Winter time, I just don't worry about it. I mean, yeah, when you get mozzies and whatnot, you always bloody emptying it out, but I'll keep filling it.
And do you keep the water tray, I noticed it's the same colour as the flowers, is that deliberate?
Not at all. I've got black ones, I've got white ones, I've got, you can name it, mate.
Is it Japanese or Chinese?
That, I think is Japanese. Japanese goes clockwise when it turns, and the Chinese
You've got
goes
bigger
spinny.
flower falls too, I think, from the Chinese.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, man.
It's gorgeous.
All I know is it smells good, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah.
Everyone says, oh, but yeah, when it hasn't got leaves on it, it's not that flash. Anyway, thanks very much.
I always have trouble identifying my junipers, whether they're squamatas, pingii, nana, procumbens. To me, they're all the same. I think I call this one squamata, but there's a lot of variations of squamata, I believe. So, first, a little bit about the species. There are species that grows in the mountains and the hills. They don't do well in flat, damp areas. So bear that in mind when you're caring for them. They don't like to be overwatered. A lot of people have trouble with this species, with a bit of dieback and a bit of yellowing, and I know Doug has experienced that. I've experienced it, and what I've learned, and I think most people have one of these or have tried them. What I've started doing is trying to make sure that water doesn't rest on the foliage for any length of time. So in winter time, I water the soil, but I avoid watering the foliage. In summertime, I'm happy to water the foliage, but I don't like water sitting on the foliage. So I do put it under the eaves or under the veranda, and I find that they do better either somewhere that's really well ventilated or somewhere that's water doesn't rest on. Anyway, this tree's got a lot of history with the club. It was styled at one of the AABC conventions. The AABC is the Australian Association of Bonsai Clubs. They had a convention hosted by Bonsai Northwest in 2007, also in 2012 and 2018. So Bonsai Northwest and AABC have been friends many times over the years. AABC have a convention every year, and this year it was in Canberra. A few of us went up to Canberra. next year it's in Hobart. This one was done in 2007 by an international demonstrator, Michael Persiano from New York. He's done it on stage, did a lot of carving of this area, and it was quite a impressive demonstration, as the international demonstrators often are. They get given a good piece of material and they work their magic. This one has undergone many changes over the years. This branch here, originally, when Michael styled it, that was wrapped around and around the trunk a few times. And I've unwrapped it and styled it a bit differently over the years and laid it, and I've taken off branches, I've created more deadwood. So been a lot of changes over the years, but I brought it in because it's got a lot of history with Bonsai Northwest, this particular tree, and I'm pleased to have been able to keep it healthy since 2007. And I put it in the show this year, so you may have seen it all recently, but it's one that is known to many people in the club, and those who saw it recently, that's the story behind it. At the, I don't know, is this still in the library? That's a DVD of a few of the presenters at the 2007 convention, and I'm lucky to have a copy of it because it shows me this tree with 2 or 3 hours work being done on it, and it's just nice to look back on one of your trees from, what's that, it's nearly 20 years ago. I can watch the styling of the same tree and appreciate how far it's come since then. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Name's Andrew Richards, been a member for about 5 years, been into bonsai for about 7. This was the tree that started my journey into bonsai. A gentleman I work with now he's a very good friend. Jackie started working together, started talking about designing gardens actually. And my wife and I, over about a couple of glasses of wine, decided we'd draw our backyard on a piece of paper. And so he showed a lot of interest in this, and he said, "Have you heard about bonsai?" I said, "No, probably not the smartest move," but he showed up about 3 days later, and he had this maple and this Japanese maple, and tried a maple in the back of his car. And he said, "Pick one." I thought he was joking, and no, he wasn't. So that's how my journey started. At the moment, I'll see the tree. Sorry, just look at the photos. The 3 trees you can see is the maple, the cedar, and this little elm here. So the elm in the photo you can see is probably, I don't know, 10 centimetres. So, yeah, with Jackie's help and a few other people's help, this is about 7 years now. We had root over rock had it buried for about 3.5 years. Started to expose it over time. This tree is also a dedication tree to my dog, who we had for about 15 years. So, yeah, means a lot to me. I'm also very lucky. I spent a lot of time with some very talented bonsai artists. This was actually one of my mistakes, which Quinton probably shoot me about. But so I spent a lot of time up at Moongate with Dave and Shura, who are very generous with their time, their knowledge and their skill. And Quinton I've also spent a little bit of time with as well. The damage on the cedar there was, I got a phone call from David, because I'm a bit of a blue cedar fan. He said, "There's a blue cedar that's up for sale." Asked the price, little bit nervous, said, "Oh, yeah, all right." Took it home and I got too precious about looking after it. Stopped watering it. This is the cedar on advice after one of the branches, sort of lost one of the branches, so through Quinton and David's advice, did a big sea salt bath and to help bring the health and that back into the tree. This tree was actually one of the first trees I've put in a show, and I owe a lot of it to Quinton and a couple other people who helped get it up for that show. This is the here in the root over the rock stage.
Oh, there it is.
That's the cedar there. So this is before the last show where I got presented at. Yeah, it's one of my favourite trees. It's a stunning tree. And this was another cedar I brought at an auction, at a club auction about 4 years ago. So yeah, not all my own work. I won't take credit for that. As I said, I've got a lot of good, amazing bonsai artists around me who are very generous. Yes, this could be the point where my wife says, have we got enough trees yet? So I've got, at the moment I've got set up, I've got a brother-in-law who's a builder. So I went from probably a table half this size to 12 metres worth of benches down the side of the house, which is 2 layered. Then up the back I've got about a 5 metre bench for maples, and then I've got about a 3 metre bench for the young pines. And on this bench I've got 100 black pine seeds at the moment. This is in 2018, the same Japanese maple. It's in the back of my car. There was a couple of things which I wasn't so keen on, but I didn't say that to my friend. I love my trees. I'm trying to develop my own style into having a tree quite natural. So there was a back branch on it that's been taken off now. It sort of came out at an angle and it looked quite forced, which I wasn't so keen on. But yeah, a change of the pot, a little bit of branch placing, lost the back branch. I think it's coming up really well. This was the pot that was changed to.
Oh.
And yes, this is the benches. The bloodwood maple there, that's probably my unicorn in bonsai. I'd really love one, but I understand now how old this tree is and everything else about it, but you got to still have hope for that, so yeah. Next photo. Oh, so on the right hand side is when I first brought this on.
Oh, really? Wow.
So yeah, it has come a long way. It's that photo was in 2018. So lack of knowledge, my mate said to me, we're going to bury the roots on a rock in a pot, and I sort of must have stared at him and went, I don't understand. But I understand now, so yeah, it was awesome. And yeah, as I said, yeah, the benches, I see a lot of people and everyone's different. I wanted a spot for my trees where they'd be safe from wind, if I wanted to tie them down or whatever. So that's how all the benches come along. Built 2 lots, which is 6 metres. And then I unfortunately got out the tape measure and went, I could put another 2 down here as well. So that was it. So yeah, so far that's my bonsai journey. Yeah, like especially when Jackie was telling me about joining the club. Club's full of fantastic people, great knowledge. People are very generous with their time. I really appreciate it. I think that's about it.
Questions for Andrew, anyone? My question is, why do you love blue cedars so much?
Because they're beautiful.
Yeah, I love the colour. I love the flowers, the budding. This one is actually, it's going to sound weird, but it's a little bit of a joke between Jackie and I, because he sold me this for $20. And at the time, yeah, it wasn't great, but over time and you know, branching and feeding, watering and everything. I think it looks fantastic now. So if I ever want to store him up, I just flick him a photo and say thanks, $20 well spent.
Do you have any plans for new benches?
I think that'd be divorce papers. We just finished off paving our back corner, so I'm thinking about getting some sort of stand for bigger bonsai. And I've also been around Quinton's a couple of times with the poles and the turntables. My wife's not so keen on that one, but I'll keep working on it.
Thanks, Andrew. Well done.
My name is Brian Clinton. I'm a late starter to bonsai. I think I started about early 90s, 92, and I went to Garden World and I saw this little juniper in a 7 format. I said, oh, that's a beautiful tree. I think I might buy that. And I bought it and I better learn how to look after it. So I bought a little book on bonsai and then I got hooked. So basically, Max Lay was the first person that I was wandering around Glen Norris looking at the bonsais, and he took a shine to me and took me over, and he got me into bonsai fully that time, and I bought my first black pine from Max. As I say, I think I started my thing that I like collecting is white pines. That was my specialty. So I've got a lot of white pines and some very big white pines. So this is probably one of my best ones. Thanks to David on in his YouTube channel, he said, oh, it's the best white pine in Australia. Well, guess what? Phone calls come from everywhere. Want to buy it.
Sorry, Brian.
That's all right. But I think one guy in Sydney, I forget his name, Paul, he offered $25,000 for it. And he wanted to come down and look at all the collection. And I said, no, look, it's one of my favourite trees and I want to keep hold of it. So it's a beautiful tree. This was in the ground for about 10 years, I suppose, before I got it. So I bought this in about 92, so look, it'll be close to 50 years old. Can't see what's going on at the front.
No, I'm just showing the tree first.
Yeah. So I bought two or three of them at the same time, and just didn't know much about it. But at one stage, I'll see which. If I go in here, I'll have a look.
I'm just getting there now.
Got any of the trees?
We'll come. Come on.
So the first tree that I didn't take any photographs of it until quite late. It should be the first in the series there.
It starts with this one. Sorry, which one? You ready? Come round.
Yeah, come round. This one here.
That one?
Yeah. So that's the first time I actually took a photograph of it, and it had been in the ground for quite a number of years. And then I got it from Trevor at Bonsai Art, and he actually got 3 beautiful trees from him, which I've had for since about 92, 93. So I'm estimating that it's about nearly 50 years old, and the other 2 with them are of similar age.
Wow.
So you might see, let's see. Are they all on there?
That's all I've got.
Okay.
Do you want to start from the start?
Oh, down the bottom there. So this is the first styling of the tree.
This one here?
This one here, yeah. Which was Joe Morgan Palea and Hero. And as I say, it was just a bit of a shambles at that stage. And then the next one, I got some design drawings over to it, enlarge the branches and things like that. No, not that one yet.
Tree.
That one. Yeah.
Second row, far end, right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's the original.
The original. Okay,
That's the original.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's not been able to look at the actual pines, but as I say, I just the first styling was probably with Hero and Joe, and then Beyond.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, my fault. Can't see that. Here we go. There we go.
Yeah. So it's a bit hard to compare the two, but that's what I wrote on the thing that needed improvement. That Hero, and there's a big branch came from here. And Hero said, I'm cutting that off. And Joe was horrified because he thought that was a major branch, and he brought the one around from the back. But the end of, when it was in a pot, in a foam box for a number of years, and when I dug down at the Nabari just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and still got to root, so it had a beautiful Nabari to it. So, let's see, what stage are we up to now?
This one, mate?
Yep. Where's where it's been designed by Hero and Beyond. Up the top somewhere?
This one?
Yeah. And guess who's in the background?
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's not a bad photo. Not.
What happened is I got a week on this workshop, and fortunately we had some really good members from the club help me wire it, because I worked on it for 7 days and they were wiring it for 7 days virtually. And then Bjorn came and placed it all, the branches in the right position, and it's turned out to be a beautiful tree.
Sure is.
Now, the other one I was going to talk about is...
Oh, there's Bjorn styling it.
Sorry?
Photo of Bjorn styling it, is
Yeah,
it?
oh, no, it's a bit small.
Very small.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of those Bjorn styling, and you'll have a look at the other two. That's the other tree that I did with him. It's a beautiful tree now.
What's this one? I think this is the... Oh, yeah, there it is, finished.
Yeah, and you see the tennis ball, it gives you a bit of an idea of the size. So that's when it was first done by Hero, by Bjorn.
I think, yeah.
And anyway, look, we'll go to, and this is how it originally went to Bjorn here, and it had, I asked him about this top, having a double head, and he said, no, I'm going to cut that off and bring the other one, and the other branch above it down, sort of thing. So
that's before Bjorn touched it?
Yeah, before Bjorn touched it, so...
And let's see, this one.
Yeah, there it is, yeah. So from what it originally was, it turned out a beautiful tree. So it's now, I've taken all the wire off and it is wiring again. So any volunteers? Anyway, the other tree I'd like to talk about is this one here. I'll probably go back to, there's one in a little seed in a tray thing. This one.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a white pine from seed, and that's when I got it from Trevor. He grew 300 of them from seed, and 4 of them survived. I had 2, and Trevor's still got 2. So then if you go to the other shot that I had, this one here, yeah. So it had a fairly long needles. And so that's the only one I've got. Then if you move to the next one further down. So this is it here. Before I decided I'd change the foliage of the whole tree. So I grafted kokonoi, which is a Japanese dwarf white pine, and it was probably the predecessor to Zushio, as the most popular pine in Japan for... So you can see my grafts on top of there, which was done in the cocoon method.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can move along again. And
which one?
There.
Oh, yeah.
So this is its first real, after new growth of all the kokonoi. So then I cut off the whole tree. So the tree has got a seed by seed, and it's got beautiful bark now. And if you go to the next one, which is So it needs now rewiring. It's really looking quite healthy now, and so that's the stage it is now at the moment. And I'm about to sort of, when it's the proper time to wiring, which will be next year, I'm going to develop that fully. But it's a beautiful tree. The bark is really fantastic, and it's coconut from grafted onto one that's from seed, so it's not grafted at the base.
Nice. Wow.
But Quentin's been a great help to me. He's been my mentor, and he comes around and helps me repot the really big trees. I don't know whether he's got an ulterior motive somewhere along the line. He said, I like that one, but that one's going to be mine. So line up. And yeah, I was trying to think of the member that, who was it that, always wanted to come and look at my pines and retire. I forget his name. Anyway, I had a number of operations. I've had 3 hip replacements, which is not great. I started to be about 5'6", now I'm down to here. Because every time I had one, they made one shorter, and then they'd make it shorter again. So I've been progressively stepping down.
Now you're a bonsai.
Yes. Well, he used to come around after the operation. He'd bring me in to see if I'd survived the operation.
Oh my gosh!
He said, "Go to come around and collect all the trees." So anyway, yeah, as I say, that's just to give you a quick idea of what I've got as far as the trees that I'm working on at the moment. But I have a lot of coconut trees that have been grafted. So I think they'll be really good trees in about 40, 50 years' time, so I'm looking forward to it. So any questions?
Lots of questions, I'm sure. Lots of questions.
When you're grafting, do you use your own scions, or do you get them from others, or?
No, well, what I did is I went up to up the mountains to I was trying to think of the Coolins, yeah. So Leo Coolin, I got some Willichiana white pine from him, but he had a tree growing on a big, huge glauca tree, and I picked it out and I said, "God, that's a coconut." And he didn't take much notice of it. And I said, "Look, can you graft me some stuff from that next year?" So he agreed to do it, and I think he did about 20 or 30, and I got 16 of them, of which about 8 survived. And I've still got those 8 at the moment. So I've been grafting them onto, well, that one there that I grafted onto the white pine, and I'm doing some more grafting at the moment using the cocoon method, which has been quite successful for me.
Beautiful.
Okay, well, thanks very much.
No other questions?
I wrote some notes. I forget otherwise. Here's a bit about this tree's history. In an effort to raise some funds for BSV, it was decided that Quentin, Joe Melbourne Paler and Steve Gerald would run workshops for $50. Early on, they couldn't charge a fee. If any of this is wrong, Quentin, just correct me. The workshops were held in 2010. This tree was already in a group of 3, but the arrangement wasn't very good. It was rearranged then and has been refined since. The group belonged to Jeff O'Toole, down Geelong Way, and before me, and more than likely, John Mackey would have owned it before Jeff. So, I've owned the group since 2016 and have wired out a total of 3 times. And roughly the wiring's been every 3rd year. I'd go out and I'd cut it all out and I'd reapply everything again. Since I've had the tree, Joe Morgan Palin has assisted me over the last 9 years with multiple workshops. So this tree's probably been to Joe, I'd say 5 or 6 times throughout the 9 years. Most recently, in the last 6 months, we did 2 full days of wiring. So it was about
7 hours a day times 2, and then in the evening probably another 4 or 5 hours, so 7 for it. About 20 hours to wire all this out. We've taken about 20% of the branches out during the last styling, so it's 20% more dense than this, right? And it was getting a bit compact, so we really thinned it out, took out a lot of branches out of it. And I think it's got a bit more room to breathe now, it's a bit area. The smallest tree, this one at the front left, was heavily reduced in the last workshop, or the second last workshop. It would have been about that high, and we've taken 30-40% of the tree out. We've also, in the last, when I repotted this 2 years ago, this tree here was pushed right into this little, it was almost like a clump. They're all really, grown like a clump. We've pushed this one forward and we've pushed it out to your left to give it a bit more room. We also rotated the group 15 degrees clockwise, so that way. It used to be a Japanese shallow oval pot, this pot here. And then it had no soil in it, so it was just, when I went to repot this about 5-6 years ago, it was just root mass. There was no organic or any soil left inside, it was just root. The whole thing was just solid root mass. Because this pot really isn't very deep, it's only from there to there would be an inch, maybe an inch and a half. So we put it into this, and the health of the tree, I think it really needed that repot. It got its repot, and the health's come back, and it's nice and lush now. I'm not too happy about the pot. I'm happy about the size and the shape of the pot, but I just think, maybe a little bit smaller next time, fractionally. Maybe a couple of inches smaller.
No.
That's a no, okay. Now, working on this tree, it's quite easy. It's a black pine, so we worked on our blacks twice a year in May and in December. Very easy maintenance of cleaning up the tree and taking out candles and needle plucking. The hard bit's the wiring, so it's quite easy to maintain black pines when you only do the work twice a year. Right? Besides the maintenance, the only other maintenance is we put a bit of lime sulphur in the gins twice a year, right? And repotting. And besides the repotting and the lime sulphuring, again, twice a year. So it's not very hard to get pine needle length down and candles down. So I've had a few ideas to I don't know whether to share this with you. You didn't like my pot, shrinking your pot size, right? But I've had a few ideas with this tree where to go with it. One idea was to add more trees into the group, right? So I've thought about that at one stage. Again, these are just thoughts. So, 2, planting it on a slab. So I've had thoughts if the right slab came along, we might get it onto a slab, right? And 3, turning it back into a clump again. So since we've thinned out, like again, 20-30% of the foliage come out of this tree, maybe putting that tree back. So it's had a little holiday, it's come out for a little bit, and might end up back there as a clump again. So the group, have you got that video? Is that video?
I'll play it now.
Yeah. So I scoured the internet for pictures of this thing and I couldn't find them, right? The only thing I could find was one of David's videos that he did at the 28 convention, and that's a 5 or 6 second snippet of the video, the walk around that he did. So thanks to David, we've got some video evidence of this thing. Right? Unfortunately, the other club in Geelong, we have a show in November, and usually by then the candles are too long, the needles are too long, and I never feel comfortable about showing the tree. So luckily in Northwest, we have a
May show usually.
Usually in May or June in the winter time, and when it's looking its best. So hopefully next year this will be able to go on show in Northwest. And that's about it. So any questions?
And how often do you repot it?
Probably every second to third year. So I wouldn't repot it every year, but I'm definitely on the side of repotting more often than less often. So probably every second to third year I'd give it a repot. And if it was in something like this, probably more often, but I think it's got a bit of soil in there, so you don't have to go as often, I think.
And Michael, have the three trees all kind of fused together in the root ball?
So, it was a good question, Shane. It was good to get this one out. It took me about an hour doing it very carefully with the chopstick and the hook, but we got them apart. And like before I pulled it apart, I didn't think it. I thought it would be a lot harder, but no, it surprised me. It was quite easy. So, in saying that, this was done 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the separation. So I'm thinking this could be done again if we needed to, but again, I've got the idea of wanting to make it a clump again. So,
If you were going to put extra trees in, where would you be thinking of putting extra trees?
that's a good question. Maybe possibly at the back, put something out through the back. And again, if you were going to put more trees into it, more branches would obviously have to come off. So that's the thing. I have thought about it, but not super in-depth thought about it. That's why I come to workshops, Quentin, and I ask you these questions, right? So, but this tree, it's gone to Joe Morgan Pale since I've had it constantly through workshop after workshop, and I think we'll continue on that partnership we've got. And I think it's come a long way since the video to where it's at now. So,
Have you thought about ginning or taking off the big branch on the right, the low branch?
that actually come up.
Off.
Completely, this one completely off?
Well, just, I'd cover it with a rag and see what it looked like.
Yeah, also what's also come up, this thing turned, hang on.
Yeah, it should turn.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Just slowly.
Yep.
Oh, it's stuck, that's alright. It's stuck.
We've been in discussion, maybe this one's getting a little too long here, it wraps around. We've definitely talked about removing that back branch in the past. I think I wasn't too keen on doing it, and Joe said mill on it for a little bit, and we ended up doing that, but could quite possibly come off in the future. So, yeah. Any other questions? No? Alright, thank you.
Hi all, I'm Shane. Some of you know me. Look, this is not my best bonsai, but it's my most storied one. So I want to give you a story of, sort of 21 years living with this tree. As Mauro Stenberger says, you can buy any tree you want, but to have a bonsai, you have to live together many years. So, this is the start of the early years. I dug this bonsai up with Bonsai Northwest on the Olive Dig in 2004. We all got into a convoy and we drove up to Bort in northern Victoria and stopped on the side of some random road. It seemed that the council was wanting to get rid of all the olives up there, so the club decided and arranged to be able to go and dig up all these different olives. I don't have a photo from the dig, but what I can tell you is that the first photo here is from January 2005 after the dig. On the day of the dig, I I dug up 3 trees, but as a new person to the club, I had no idea what I was doing. I took a trowel, I took regular bonsai tools, I took a handsaw, and I took a Leatherman, a little multi-tool. Thank you to whoever it was who loaned me the long crowbar, and it only took 4 hours to dig this up. Everybody else was already in their cars and had gone home. So this is the early years, one of my old houses with my wife Jen. As you can see, it's in this beautifully, lovely, luxurious pot that it lived in for very many years. The photo at the top right is what a real old olive looks like, just to give you an idea of what they should look like. Then we went and moved house. It's still in a fashionable white pot, as you can see, which is probably not doing as well after a couple of years.
That's right. That's right, it's back. It's back.
Right. Jump forward to 2006. And I took it to my first Hirotoshi Sato workshop with Bonsai Society Victoria. I had no pictures from the actual workshop, but this is afterwards. I could tell that this was afterwards because on the top picture to the left, you can see the piece of paper that is Hiro's picture. Whenever you do a workshop with Hiro, he draws the tree and the design idea, which is why I have the tree at the moment facing this way, because that was the front originally. The tree was an extra 20-25 centimetres taller, and that was the front. This bit came out this way and was going to be grown all, along this sort of direction. As I said, this is a lesson in cautionary tales. I never finished that style. Never finished it during the workshop, never finished it in the years afterwards, and the tree just kept going. He recommended an oval pot. Then we moved house again in May 2007, the first house that we bought. The pot, as you can see, is getting worse for wear, so much so that it actually has to be carried using a tarp underneath it, or else it would break to pieces. And I'm kind of absolutely baffled by what I was doing with this straight wiring here. You can see on the left out here. What on earth was I thinking? I have no idea. But I think it was deliberate because I see other pictures that I've had where that's the same. I haven't put any movement in it. I don't know what I was thinking. Then, finally, a first pot. September 2007, my mum buys me a pot for my birthday. She insists we go to Orient Bonsai up in north of Preston, or beyond Reservoir, and buy this pot. 105 centimetre long pot, not this pot. That's the trowel that I dug the tree with, the little plastic thing.
It's looking good.
I was totally digging bonsai with a trowel. So this is, potting it into its very first pot. Great, lots of photos. See how high it sits in the pot once it's been potted in there. That's huge. Then comes the years of neglect. About 7 of them. You can see that first of all on the left that the olive got itself a cocktail trolley so that it could be moved around, because in that pot it took 4 people to lift it. which I found a really great comment today when Paul, when you saw it, you went, oh, that must be a Quentin tree to take so many people to visit it. In 2009, I was distracted by the birth of our first daughter, Penny. That's her having a look at the tree there. And then there were loads and loads and loads of pictures that I haven't included just with the kid. Wednesday was born in 2011. No photos of her allowed, but she never worked on this tree. She's got her own. Apparently, I repotted this tree again in 2012 because I found a photo of me doing that here, top right. But look, really, not a lot of progress in 7 years. You know, if you're going to work on a tree, work on it. You'll get stuff like what everyone else is showing you. If you don't, you won't. The other thing to see in this, the bottom middle photo, if you look closely there, you can see really long branches being let grow there. The internet, there was a big argument. Do you prune lots or do you just let it grow? Will you get thicker branches by just letting it grow? I listened to that for quite a few years, thinking I'd get really nice thick branches out of it. That doesn't work. Cut it hard, and get ramification. Then the funny thing is, occasionally we all do silly things with our trees, and this tree is the best example of that. The photo on the bottom right, where I've strategically placed an umbrella over it. At first I thought when I'm pulling out all these photos, it must be the middle of summer and I don't want the thing to burn, but that's actually the middle of June. So maybe I wanted it to not get wet, maybe I wanted to work on it, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, a photo with it being strategically looked after there. Then in July 2014, I took it to Hero again for the second workshop. This was really simple brief for Hero this time. Hero, it's too heavy. It needs to be smaller and it needs to fit upright in my car. So we changed the front. We took about 20 centimetres off the height and made this the front of the tree. And we repotted the whole thing in the one workshop and shoved it in my car to take it home. That was a really awesome workshop, had lots of fun with that. But again, as you can see, not a lot of development on the tree between 2004 digging it up and 2014 there. Because I didn't really do much on it. Didn't know what I was doing for it. Then a lesson in carving. A lesson in what not to do. After that Hero workshop, I took it home, and this was probably within a week, and I decided that the damn thing is still too damn heavy. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to carve out the bottom and make it lighter. So I took it inside, sat down, got out my Dremel, and spent a few hours happily carving out the bottom of an olive tree. Couple of lessons about that. Don't do that inside. And second lesson, don't do that at all. This is my biggest regret that I have with this tree, that I actually did this. Even though I thought I was having so much fun at the time and I thought I was so clever. Don't do this. The tree survived though. We'll get to that. So the tree survived, and in around 2016 I started showing it, which meant I borrowed a creme brulee torch from Valgarth and I burnt all the large wounds to sort of make it blend in. I borrowed a stand from Jared. Where'd you go? Yeah, borrowed your stand. And as you can see down the bottom, I've always been really lucky that my wife Jenny has let me work on bonsai in our house. So that's one of the best things that's ever happened. That's the tree at the Bonsai Society of Victoria show 2016, which was the first time I showed it. Here it is on display in some other places. In that house where we were, we built a tokonoma to actually display all the bonsai that we had, which was awesome. I really missed that because we've moved since. Bottom right photo there is the Bonsai Northwest Show 2024, so the previous year's show. The reason I really regret carving out the bottom is that ever since I did that, that's when I started getting pests and disease all over this tree. Is that it naturally aging? I don't know. But in 2017, we got mushrooms on the left. In 2019, I got borers in the middle. And Jared's advice then was, hey, they can be lured out by shaking a baby's rattle outside the hole. Avoid singing as it will make them bore deeper. I found that post. 2020, on the right, that's dog's vomit, is what that's called. That's literally what it's called. So I have since treated this tree with, lime sulfur, copper fungicide, metho, never terps. Metho and wire was the treatment I did then. Pyrethrum, bug killer, wood hardener. Wood hardener is probably the best thing that I've found so far, with all those others. In 2022, a new front for the tree, because that whole time, since potting it in 2014, it was just not the right front for the tree. It was how it actually fit in the pot, which wasn't. So it only needed to move about 10 degrees in one direction or the other. It was just such a slight difference, but it was about being able to see the trunk at the back through the middle, and it just wasn't right. So finally repotted that, which was great. But the good thing was finding out that it had very healthy roots all underneath, as well as a very big gap between the roots and that. And then we moved house again in 2023.
Oh my God.
Again, another workshop with Hiro. He came out again last year, which was great. He was assisted by Ichi Morozumi. I apologised to Hiro. I said, I'm really sorry about the health of the tree. I said, because life. And he very kindly said, unavoidable. Again, July 2024, you can see the design he has up there, really bring down the branches more, finish that off, finish the wiring that I never did from 2004 onwards. But again, incomplete wiring, I haven't finished it off. It's not entirely done for what's in that picture. Hiro also said to shari the straight trunk and give it more character to match the other main trunk. That I have done, and you can kind of see that it's starting to darken up and die back in there. He's also recommended a thread graft on the straight trunk, which I haven't done, but I have got the scions that I'll be using for that, the trees, that I will hopefully soon have go through here and come out around here and perhaps through here as well. Again, 2025, a bit more neglect and some more dieback. So here I've lost this branch, which was really beautiful through here, and it broke and it was hanging down, and Paul, who's not here tonight, came by and visited my place, and then I realised, oh, yeah, cool, super glue. So that got super glued up, and looks a bit better now.
Incentive, you don't find it.
So now we're in October, but this was the end of September. There's some lessons with olives. Don't carve out the bottoms. You don't need to, and it's not good for them. Cut the branches back hard to get ramification and taper, because growing it long doesn't work, doesn't do either of those. But importantly, take loads of photos of your trees and make notes, because it'll remind you of how far you actually have come, more than you probably expect. And this was fun, fun looking back over the photos and hunting and finding them. So thanks everybody.
Shane, when you collected it, did you chainsaw the base off? You know, the onion shape underneath or anything like that?
I think I did when I got home. I didn't chainsaw it, it was a recip saw.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, so it was originally flattened off by that. Yeah, because it did come out with a nice bulbous round base that was going to have it sitting up here in the pot. Just in
When I chainsawed mine, it cost me $100 for a new chuck.
Hence a recip saw with a replaceable blade.
Sparks coming out of it. Unbelievably hard.
Yeah.
I think the sparks might have been from a rock that was just
Have tea and coffee, folks.
Oh.
Thanks.
Well done.